What's going on, Wiz Nation? Coming back at you guys with another episode of State of the Wizards. Thank you for tuning in. This is episode 17. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Dcan, along with my co-host, Kjose. Kjose, what's going on, my man?
Nothing too much, my dude. Happy New Year to you. We in the year of 2022. Dang, it's fast how 2021 went by.
Man, tell me about it. 2022 is here. I mean, it kind of rolls off the tongue a little smooth, too. 2022. Let's just
Right,
hope that this year is going to be better than 2021 and 2020. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Sure. So how's everything been for you?
Everything has been good, man. I can't complain. I guess we're gonna talk about this nail biter from yesterday, which was one heck of a game. So I know we're gonna dive into that.
Absolutely.
The new year so far is starting off pretty good. Little personal side note: had a tree in the backyard fall over yesterday. Well,
Oh,
this morning, should I say? Most likely was due to all the rainfall that we had, but
man.
that's pretty much it. I mean, it just fell in the yard. It didn't fall nowhere near the
But it
house.
was one of the big trees, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, this tree was pretty old and rotted and dead, so it fell from the bottom.
Got
We were thinking that it was on our neighbor's property, but when we kept looking at the blueprint, we kind of figured that it was on our property. So I got somebody coming by tomorrow to take a look at it.
got
Sorry about that, fans, for putting that little bit of information out there, but that's pretty much it.
got you. Well, we do have a lot to talk about today. The Wizards are currently sitting at 18 and 18. We're
Hmm.
going to discuss a lot of things, starting with, uh, well, we could start with Bradley Beal's current situation.
Hmm.
We will start with that. We'll also talk about Tommy's pending decision, and we'll talk about the potential contract and the loss last night. You know,
Right,
the dagger. You know that Derozan hit
right.
on us last night at the buzzer. But before we do get into that, if this is your first time tuning in to State of the Wizards, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for following us. Make sure you subscribe. You hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you comment. Drop a comment. Show us some love. We'll definitely show love back. And we want to hear from you guys. What can we do to make the show better? If you guys ever want to, just reach out to us in our inbox. If you don't want to, throw some things in the comment section, feel free to do that. Also
Absolutely.
follow, yep. Also follow me at Wizards Mafia on Twitter. And also follow my man Kjose at DC Hoopla at DC Hoopla. Oh, that's fresh. Is that
Yes,
new?
sir.
Peep. I didn't even peep.
See that? My man, it ain't peep. So let me make sure to get it a little bit lower.
Right.
Peep that out. Pretty soon we're gonna start making this out for the fans to be able to get.
I see you got. I know you was talking about changing the logo too. So you got the original logo on there.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on the new logo to appear. I got to reach out to the person that's working on it.
That's what's up. Make sure y'all also the Wiz takes. Make sure again you show us both love, man. At the end of the day, show us both love. We'll show love back. Trust me, we will do that.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's get into it, man. Before we do, I do have once again a nice little trivia for you. You ready for this?
All right, let's see. I
All
messed
right,
up on the last
right
one.
now you 0 for 1. Right now you 0 for 1.
Right, I'm 0 for 1. So let's see if I can get this one.
All right, bet. So, true or false? 1996-97 season, the Washington Bullets had 6 players average double figures. Is this true or false?
Damn, that's a real good one. Let's see.
I mean,
Let me
6
think about
players in double figures is a huge
it's
number
a
now.
huge number. I'm trying to think of who was on the roster. 96, 97. Strickland. See where.
Tick, tick,
I'm gonna
tick.
say, I'm gonna say true.
Ding, 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 ding. You got that one
Yeah.
right, my man. Okay, so name the 6 players. Name the 6
You said
players.
name the players?
Right. Who do you think on that roster average
Okay.
double figures?
Strickland,
Mm-hmm.
P. Webb,
Yep.
Jawan Howard,
Yep.
Mirasan,
Yep. Two more.
Calvert Chaney,
Yep.
and I'm gonna say Tracy Murray off the bench.
You got it. You got it. My man. My man.
Mm-hmm.
Spot
Mm-hmm.
on. That was a good one, man. That was really
That
good.
was that was a pretty good one. That was a tough one. But you
Yeah,
got to know your Wizards history to know who was on that roster.
absolutely. That's how you know. We real fans over here, man.
Okay, I
Sure
got
enough.
one for you.
All right, hold on. Let me just finish this. So that
Gotcha.
year, Juwan Howard did average 19 points per game. Weber,
Mm-hmm.
C. Webb was at 20. Rod
Mm-hmm.
Strickland was at 17 points per game. Calbert Chaney, Mirasan, and Tracy Murray all averaged 10 and a half points per game.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, and I mean, you think the craziest part of this all is Ben Wallace was coming off the bench and he never cracked the rotation at all. My man only averaged about 5 minutes a game.
Wow.
Future Hall of Famer on the bench, only
Wow.
averaging 5 minutes a game. But go ahead.
Wow.
What you got for me?
All right. So I got a trivia for you. Dang, this one here, I could go two different ways with this one. But I'm gonna kind of go easy. So in the 27 games that Courtney Alexander played as a Washington Wizard in the 2000-2001 season, as a Washington Wizard in those 27 games, what was his scoring average? What did he average as a Wizard that year?
Can I get an A, B, C, D?
Yes, sir. So, did he average 4.2 points? Did he average 7.9? Or did he average 17 points a game?
What year was that?
2000-2001.
He averaged 17 points per game.
Ding, 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 ding. You got it, my dude. That's a good one right there.
Yeah, that
That's
was
a
a good one.
fan right there to know that.
I remember. I remember when he actually had a stretch. And
Right.
everybody was like, oh man, is this guy gonna be, the future for us? I remember that.
I remember that too. And I was one of those people saying, oh man, we might have got a steal here.
Right. But it never meshed. It just never meshed.
Right.
We know the history. It just, to me, a lot of stuff happened and he just didn't get the opportunity, the full-fledged opportunity to come into his own. We gave him a shot, but he just had a hot streak, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. He kind of talked about it when he was on Eton Thomas's podcast of why that, what happened with him during his time as a Wizard. But, that's a topic for another day.
Got you. So let's go ahead and dive in, shall we?
All right.
The Wizards are currently sitting at 18 and 18. What I wanted to bring up tonight was we're sitting at 500.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The Wizards are playing great basketball over the last couple of games. I would say, actually, I wouldn't say great, but they're playing good. They're playing above average.
Right.
And Bradley Beal's current situation. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to address this. And I want to make this clear. A lot of the criticisms that comes with this, you and I have been very, I would say, adamant, with the direction of the team, with Bradley Beal. And the reason why we're adamant is because our future depends on which direction we go after this season, with or without Bradley Beal. So I'm going to address this only one time.
Right.
I'm not going to keep harping on this. So this time and this time only will I address Bill's current situation, the lack of commitment that we're seeing out of him, Tommy's pending decision on an opt-out Bradley Beal, and Bradley Beal's potential contract. I will not touch on this anymore on any podcast until the time comes. So for all you guys out there watching, don't think that we're sitting around and we can't sleep at night because all we're thinking about is what Bradley Beal's going to do. That's not what, who we are here. We just want to address this for the State of the Wizards subscribers and fans out there, for those people who really want to know, what is Beal going to do? What is the Wizards going to do? No one really knows the answer, but we can try our best to help you guys figure that answer out in this episode. All right. So let's talk about, let's actually pull up some things. And if you want to address some things right now, my dude, you can. Let me ask you this question. Given the current situation, we're sitting at 18-18. What do you think we should do going into half season trade deadline with Bradley Beal being the leader of this team, but showing a lack of commitment because he has yet to sign his current contract extension?
I believe we should actually put him on the market. We need to stop prolonging inevitable.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep saying that until I'm blue in the face. We're prolonging inevitable. I know what Tommy Shepard has said. I know what Bill has said. I know what Ted Leonsis has said. But at the end of the day, does it really make the team better if you pay Bill? Like, we're now in 2022, and Bradley Beal is going to be 29 years old. Do we really think that we're going to be able to win a championship with this guy when he's eating 35% of the salary cap? How do we get better? What if we're never able to find a team that's going to take Davis Bertans' contract, and then you give Bradley Beal that supermax? How do you get better? What does that mean for Rui Hachimura? I know what a lot of people are saying. Oh, well, go ahead and trade him.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean for Denny when it's time to sign his contract? Oh, well, you know what? Go ahead and trade him too.
Mm-hmm.
Trade him for who? Who are you going to trade him? You're not going to get Karl Anthony Towns with those players.
Mm-hmm.
So in reality, we need to focus on the future. Let me say this. Bradley Beal is the last player from the 2014 all the way up to the 2018 years of us going to the playoffs. He's that last player left.
Mm-hmm.
All the rest of the guys who's played alongside him are no longer here.
Right.
They have been, they've been replaced by other players. A lot of them are younger players. What are we doing here? When you're looking at teams around the league and some teams are actually focusing on the future, we're still begging a player to commit to us who's pretty much told you in his in the podcast recently that it has to make sense for him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if he's saying that it has to make sense for him, why aren't the Wizards saying it has to make sense for them?
Right.
When it comes down to what type of decision they need to make.
So essentially, you're looking at it like, why are the Wizards sitting back, standing pat, when they can be the ultimate controllers in this ongoing saga with Bradley Beal and what he could potentially, do, for this franchise. They have more power than he does, but they're giving him all of the leverage in this situation because he is the franchise player.
Right. I'm going to use the analogy that you've been using the past several days. Bradley Beal is Thanos and Tommy could actually be Iron Man.
Right.
So, you know what, since I use that analogy, explain that analogy to the people, what that means.
So basically, in this, for those folks who haven't seen Endgame or they're not following, any of the Marvel flicks, I would highly recommend watching that movie. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. But in Endgame, Thanos has all of the stones. He has, he's wearing the gauntlet. He has the gauntlet, and he holds all of the power with all of the stones. He holds all of the power, and the Avengers who came together in that movie, Iron Man being the guy that actually ripped the stones away from Thanos after Thanos had all of the power. He was the person who eventually helped defeat Thanos in that modern world. And so in this case, we are comparing Bradley Beal because he has all of the leverage. He has all of the power. We're comparing Bradley Beal to indeed Thanos. He has all of the stones, all of the Infinity Stones. All right. So, Bradley Beal in this case knows that he is Thanos in this situation. And so just with the, quick of a snap, he can change the culture of the Washington Wizards. And Tommy Shepard in this case he can be one of the Avengers. See, the thing is that they don't look at it that way, because people are saying, well, they're not rivals, or they're not, Thanos was an enemy. Well, not really. Thanos wanted to change the world. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. And essentially, Bill wants to change the world for the Wizards. He wants to do what he wants to do. And so to save the future, Iron Man ripped those stones out the gauntlet and essentially put them in his, and he snapped the finger, and poof, Thanos disappears. Well, in this case, nobody wants to be the bad guy in this situation, but somebody has to be. You see, that's the thing. You can't have two good guys in this situation and think that, it's going to work for both sides. If we feel like our world isn't going to get any better with Bill, and if Bill thinks his world's not going to get any better with the Wizards, then somebody in this situation has to be the bad guy. And I look at it like, well, who's that person going to be? The only person who has that power to rip this away from said player and Bradley Beal would be Tommy Shepard. Tommy Shepard has that ability, and he has the just as much power to rip that away from Bradley Beal and say, hey, I'm making the decision to move on without you. And
right.
The problem is he hasn't come to that conclusion yet, or he hasn't come to that conclusion yet.
Okay, so let me ask you this other question, because I know you put up the salary cap, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a possibility that Bradley Beal will walk this offseason and the Wizards get nothing?
I do. I'm leaning that direction. I am. I'm actually leaning in the direction that Bradley Beal is going to walk. Bradley Beal is it, and you know what? It makes sense, because it doesn't matter. He's going to get a contract extension regardless wherever he goes. Okay, he's going to get paid. Bradley Beal is eligible only here for the super duper max, where he can make upwards of $200+ million. In fact, I have the numbers here, and I'll go over them in a second. But I do believe, to answer your question, that the Wizards, again, we don't want to be the bad guy. And Bradley Beal doesn't want to be the bad guy. And whenever two in any relationship don't want to be the bad guy of that relationship, what do they normally do? They mutually agree to do what? Part ways.
Part ways.
So in this case, it's trending in that direction because of the fact that the offer that we have on the table right now, Bradley Beal has yet to agree to. And a lot of people are chalking that up to assuming that, oh, he's waiting for the $200+ million contract. Well, my thing is that's no guarantee, because Bradley Beal is telling you he may not want to be stuck here for the next 5 years. So assuming that, he wants to be on the Wizards for the next 5 years, I mean, we would be fools to think that that's something that he's absolutely committed to. The thing is he's saying that he wants the Wizards organization to show him that they're committed and that they're willing to win for the next 5 years. The only way that that entices him right now is if we have a winning championship caliber team right now.
Which we don't.
And we don't. So that's not enough to convince him that he needs to stay for the next 5 years, because look at this. Look at the roster. And this is why I brought it up. A lot of these guys aren't even signed on for the next 5 years.
Right.
So we don't even know what the roster is going to look like for the next 5 years, yet alone we're asking him to commit for the next 5 years.
The only player, not to cut you off, the only player that's secured for the next 5 years is Daniel Gafford.
Right. That's it. So
the look of this team can be different within the next year. I mean, again, you don't know what the Wizards are going to do with, Rui Hachimura because he hasn't played yet. You don't know what they're going to do when it comes down to Denny Abdia because what if his camp doesn't want him to stick around because of the fact of, they still haven't turned the rings over to him and Rui Hachimura. We're still focusing on Beal. So
Right.
anything can happen. But I do agree that it's trending that he will walk away for nothing. Because what Wizards fans have to understand is that Bill doesn't really owe us anything. He's given us 10 years, okay? He's already said that he wants this team to build around him, which they have done. They've gotten better players. But the problem is it's a little bit of stubbornness on both parties because the organization kind of don't really want to spend too much money. They want to give all the money to Bill. And then at the same breath, Bill doesn't really want somebody of his caliber or a little bit better than him on the team because then he won't get all the attention.
Right.
So people say, oh, well, get Carl Anthony Towns. Well, if you bring Carl Anthony Towns
Bill
here,
automatically falls down to second fiddle.
falls down to second fiddle. Any player you bring here, Carl Anthony Towns, even if you got, Jason Tatum, it changes how the way the team is being viewed and who's the star of the team.
Not to
So
mention, I
it's
don't
just not going to.
no, go ahead. Finish your point. My bad.
Yeah, it's not going to work. So that's why he advocated for Spencer Dinwiddie, even though he was kind of last on his list. But he advocated for him because Spencer Dinwiddie wasn't going to be a threat, and he knew, hey, I can control Spencer Dinwiddie. And the thing is, people are upset with Spencer Dinwiddie because he's not playing like Brooklyn Nets Spencer Dinwiddie. But Dcan, this is what you and I expected of Spencer. We knew he wasn't going to come here and light the world on fire alongside of Bradley Beal. We just saw a team last night that you have two players playing at a high level,
Right.
averaging the same amount of points a game, shooting up the same amount of shot attempts a game, and they're not complaining about who does what or who's getting the shine or any of that. They're not complaining about it. But here we have that problem.
Yeah. And to your point, right? So let's just say if we were to get Karl Anthony Towns, we were to get Jokic. Let's just say if we were to add anyone. And
Right, right.
Jokic is a free agent coming up after next season. So let's just say, right? You add any all-star caliber player alongside Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal does fall down to second fiddle. But even then, think about this. Even then, is that worth $46 million a year?
Absolutely not.
Being the second fiddle, does it make sense to have a Karl Anthony Towns here and then your second best guy makes way more than Karl Anthony Towns?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
That makes no sense.
Another thing that doesn't make any sense, which if you think about it, Bill has said he wants to be the franchise player, which he has that. But whenever accountability is thrown at him, he usually shies away from it.
Mhm.
So, and I'm going to use a term from Spider-Man movie. Well, with great power comes great responsibility. So if you
Right.
get all that money and you got all this power, it comes with a great responsibility.
Right.
He doesn't want to take on that. So if he gets all this money and the team is not winning, he knows the blame is going to come to him. He's already seeing it as we speak. His mouthpiece, Quentin Mayo, has already said, hey man, the Wizards fans have turned on Bill. This was just a month ago when he said that.
Well, you know what?
So
My thing is I don't look at it that people are turning. I look at it that people are starting to understand that, hey, the reality of it is we're not going to win with this guy and this guy
right,
only. Like, that's
right,
just the reality. Like, I don't
right.
understand what's so hard to understand with this concept. People are saying, oh, well, look at the Chicago Bulls. Look at what they did. They built around Zach LaVine. They brought Vucevic there. They brought DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball. Do you understand what comes with all of that? Number one, Zach LaVine is he's a stud. Okay. I'm not saying that, when you line them both up, all right, they're both pretty much equal in the regard of scoring. But Zach LaVine is way more athletic. Zach LaVine brings way more fans to the stadium. Zach
Yeah, yeah.
LaVine is younger. He's he's going to, who Zach LaVine is. And at this point, what he's doing is he's continuing to climb that ranks. Right now, Bradley Bill's doing this. And he's just leveling off. You see this with Zach LaVine. Right now, you're just seeing this with Bradley Beal. If not this, you're seeing there's a good possibility that this is the best that you're going to get out of Bradley Beal, period.
Right.
Like, he's at the best that we've seen him at, you know? So my thing is, and we'll continue now. I'll go on to my next point. The bottom line is Bradley Beal is not the guy that we should be paying a lot of money to.
Absolutely.
Superstar money. I mean, LeBron James, KD, Steph Curry. You know, we talk about $46 million. You're talking about another upper echelon of athletes who should be paid that amount of money. And here in Washington, D.C., we're treating him as such, but that's not the level of player that he is. And that's
Right.
that's what people are coming to realize. And that's the reality of it. Oh, last point is
Right.
before I continue and I'll let you speak, the $36 million that he would potentially opt into next season, if he opts out and signs elsewhere, he could potentially make more than $36 million.
Of course. Of
That's
course.
why
I mean, he's a
that's another reason why I believe he will indeed opt out.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I always felt that he would opt out because he's a 10-year vet. So he's gonna get, I don't know, could other teams in the league at least pay him 40 million? I
Right.
know we can pay him 45, but can other teams pay him? If he gets paid 40 million somewhere else, I mean, he's gonna make as much money. And here's another thing that I will say. Bill is all about his brand. He has his Jordan brand, he has his shooters getting ready to come out. He's not marketable here. I know somebody had compared his situation to Carmelo Anthony's situation when he resigned in New York, but there's a big difference. And the reason why I say that is because, for one, Melo ended up in New York because he's married to Lala Anthony. Well, I think they're on the verge of getting a divorce, which she wanted to propel her career as far as acting in New York. Now when you look at Bradley Bill, his wife is from the LA area. She's kind of like a socialite, but I don't think she just wants to be known as Kamaya Adams Bill, Bradley Bill's wife. I think she wants to go out in LA and do a little bit more than that. Mind you, she's a former reality TV star.
So
So
like
she's not gonna be able to do
she has actress type,
exactly.
inspiration.
And it's not gonna happen here because DC ain't really known for a movie scene like that. So if you go have her go out there to California, she can be able to live her dream of doing that because she's still young.
Well,
So I'm saying all that.
some people would say, well, she could do that now. Lala was doing that, when Melo was in Denver. Lala already had you know, people. So I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
I
some
mean,
people
but
would
if
make
you
that
think about it, Lala's career took a they will make an argument, but at the end of the day, everybody knows Lala's acting career went a whole nother level. It actually increased when she went to New York.
argument.
Okay, Melo has been bouncing around through the league. She's been still in New York the whole time.
Melo's acting career went up when he went to New York too.
Well, yeah, yeah, he was acting like a bachelor when really he's a damn when he's really a husband.
He was doing a lot of acting too, bro.
Yeah, he damn sure was. He sure enough was doing a lot of acting. He was acting like a cheater, and he was very good at it.
All right, so look, this article was from this is Sports Washington. Article was over the summertime, June. It says Bill will be eligible for an extension with the Wizards, and this is by Chase Hughes. Shout out to Chase. He covered the potential deal and what it would look like. So what it says here and what it states is that the Wizards will be allowed to negotiate a new contract with Bill. And what it says here is that, the current contract offer, this says he could sign a contract with the Wizards worth 181.5 million over 4 years. The Wizards
Which
actually
is
offered
currently on the
him,
table.
right. The Wizards actually offered him $185 million for 4 years,
Yeah.
which is about 46 and a half, 46 mil a year. So it's actually more than this projection, what we actually offered him. And then it says, or wait until next offseason and sign for about 235 million over 5 years, 47 million annually.
Which I think Matt said 242.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's at 242. Oh, so that's what it's gone up to since this
It's
article.
going up to 242 now.
Okay. Okay. So now it's 242, which is
Right.
probably putting them at about 47 and a half, close to $48 million.
Exactly.
All right. So he
A lot
currently
of
has
money.
a player option, which we know, which was the second year in the 2-year extension he signed in 2019. And then it goes on. Here's Bill describing his player option in the future in this postseason press conference, saying that trade rumors are definitely going to increase more this year with me going into the last year of my deal. For me, I'm just relaxing and resting my body, and we'll evaluate all that once summer comes when I meet with team chairman Ted Leonsis and meet with Tommy Shepard. So this statement here tells me that, you know, this coincides with what Tommy recently said about how they had a conversation. And that, 9 times out of 10, the Wizards understand at this point that Bill is not going to sign his current contract extension. He'll wait until the offseason. So for those folks out there who are expecting him to sign it, don't expect that anytime soon because it's not going to happen. So here's my thing. Here's my question to you. Do you believe that this is showing a true lack of commitment? Do you believe that just because we're talking about more money in the offseason, that this is showing from a leadership perspective, that this is showing the team a true lack of commitment to Wes Unseld Jr. and the future of this team because there's more money on the table?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, Bill, I'm gonna say this. Bill is gonna do what's best for him. He's always said that. He said it in his recent podcast. Now, this was back in June with this article here, but just a month ago, when we heard the podcast, he said that it has to make sense. He said, he can't commit right now. He still needs to see more. So I'm looking at it this off season because he understands that he can make the most money. You and I have already had this conversation during the off season. Once I saw that one line where it says here, and I'm gonna read it says Bill can sign for 235 million next offseason for 54 million more than if he signs this fall per Marks. Once I saw that, I knew automatically he was not going to sign that contract extension that we offered him that he had up until October. He can make the most money. He even said it in his podcast, I got to be selfish. So that means he's looking for the bag. And he already knows that this organization is going to accommodate him, even if it means that we don't win a championship. So when people say, well, no, he said he wants to do it here, this, that, that's all PR talk. Of course he's going to say that he wants to do it here. But he also told you he has to be selfish. So
So
it
do
depends on.
so
Go
do
ahead.
you equate him waiting to him having, like, do you equate the lack of commitment to the team to what he's waiting for potentially during the summertime? Like, do those two things coincide with each other? Like, can he be committed to this team but not be committed long term because he's waiting on a contract extension? Like, are those two things, can those two things coexist?
Can those no. Let me answer the
Or is,
question.
or is it just a lack of commitment all the way around?
This is a lack of commitment all the way around. Let me just put it this way, and I'm going to answer that. I think I talked to you about this offline. What my opinion of it is, when you're looking at the things that Tommy is saying, and you're looking at the things that Bill is saying, it's pretty much telling you that you should expect a divorce to happen this off season, but it's not going to go the way Wizards fans wanted to go, which is if the divorce happens, that we trade him for pieces. What's most likely going to happen is he's going to walk away and we don't get anything. And what I also said to you is the organization, based off what Tommy Shepard is saying, is it's basically he's going to say, well, it's not like we didn't offer him an extension. We did. We offered him an extension. He didn't sign it. But see, that's when I feel that the organization is insulting the Wizards fan base intelligence and thinking that we're going to say, oh, well, you know what? You're right. You did try, so we can't be mad at you. No, we're going to be mad at you because you didn't put him out on the market when you knew he was giving you all the signs that he possibly wasn't going to stay here. But you felt that he was going to keep his word and he was going to stick around. This man is a businessman. He's got to think of, he's telling you, it has to make sense for me.
Right. And
So
right now
you
it
need to do
doesn't
what's
make
best for the organization.
right. And right
It
now it
doesn't
doesn't
make
make
sense.
sense. Right.
So does it make sense to wait until the off season for this guy? He already said it in this podcast. He's going to test the market to see what other options he has. He says he has options. Are we going to really sit here and go through this rabbit hole of him possibly exploring with a team like I'm just going to throw teams out there. Let's say if the Clippers are a team that's shopping for him, and New York is the Knicks. Well, I don't think he'll go to the Knicks because with him being the way he is, Knicks fans get on him if he's not performing. But there are other organizations out there that's going to be trying to get Bill's services.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to present him with a deal that makes sense to him. And
Right.
if the weather is nice, because you got to factor that in, if the weather is nice, he's probably going to say, you know what? I don't owe Washington anything. I've gave them 10 years of my life. I'm now 29 years old. So I got to think about, do I really want to win a championship, or do I just want to come, stay here, make as much money as I can, put up these stats, and then when I'm not winning ball games, I have to sit on social media and watch fans like Dcan and Kjose rip me a new one every time. Does he really want to deal with that? I don't think he does.
Right. Because you know what?
So
That's a great point, because every year the bar just keeps going up. The
and
bar,
the bar is gonna, bro, the moment he signs that contract, there's no excuses. None whatsoever. I don't want to hear
well,
nothing about no, it's none. It
that's the
kills
thing.
him.
That's the thing, right? That's the funniest part, because people are saying, well, you give Bradley Beal that contract extension and we build around Beal. But do people realize that when you pay somebody 47, 46, 47 million dollars a year, that means that their expectations is to increase their level of play? So do you honestly believe that you're going to get some worldly or some godly like Bradley Beal in the next 5 years after you sign him to this contract extension? Like, we're not signing him off of what he's already done. We're signing him on the potential of what he's going to do in the future.
Exactly.
So if you don't believe that Bradley Beal is going to give you 35 to 40 points per game, because right now he's about, he's not at his numbers last year or the year before, but the best Bradley Beal we've seen is 30 points per game. If you don't believe you're going to get more than that, then you don't sign him to that contract extension. It's just that simple. The expectation level increases every year.
It does.
Because his contract salary goes up every year after that.
Exactly. His expectations has already went up this year right now. So if he signs that contract, his expectations goes flying through the roof. There's really no excuses. So it's no excuse. So it meant my thing, if we don't believe that, there's a lot of people in Wizardsverse who are saying they don't believe he's the guy. So if you got a good amount of people that don't believe he's the guy, why would you give him the guy kind of money,
right,
and expect him to take his game on a whole nother level? We're talking about Bradley Beal here. We're not talking about Kobe Bryant. We're not talking about Kawhi Leonard. We're talking about Bradley Beal here.
Michael Jordan.
We're not even talking about Giannis.
We're not talking about, we're not talking about Giannis. We're not talking about KD. We're not talking about anybody like that.
We're talking about Bradley Beal.
But here's my thing, man. The reason why I say it shows a lack of commitment, the reason why I ask that question, because think about the Tom Brady's of the world. Think about the Tim Duncans of the world. The greatest athletes that's ever played the game who decided to take less money so the organization can continue to build championship caliber teams. Think about those types of players. Even in their contract years, they accepted the deals that was originally given to them by their respective franchises.
Right.
Those guys didn't hold out. Those guys didn't play Thanos. They didn't say, "Hey, I got all the rings. I got everything. I got all the stones." They didn't say that. They offered them the contract extension. They showed a level of commitment to the organization by signing the contract extension that was given to them. And people were saying to them, man, you could have waited and got paid a supermax contract. Why didn't you do that? Their responses were, I want to win a championship. And you don't just get that from, those guys. You get that from other guys, in their careers who want to see their organizations, their respective organizations win championships. That's what you get out of superstars who don't look at money as the all in all be all. Because
I can take even. I could even not to cut you. I can even take it. I mean, I go back to the former face of the franchise, John Wall. When he was offered his supermax, he didn't put the organization through this type of ordeal. He signed it. Take Alexander Ovechkin. He didn't do that either. He
yeah,
signed it.
yeah,
So what makes Bill different? Oh, well, he's supposed to do this and he's supposed to that. Again, he said he wants to do it here, but that's not really telling me much of anything. You want to do what here? I want to do it the right way, the way Giannis did. Well, bro, you ain't Giannis. There's a big difference. You're Chris Middleton.
right.
So if you really, really want to do it the right way, then you need to defer your game. What you're doing right now, you need to do it. So when Spencer Dinwiddie comes out there on that court, you need to defer. We shouldn't, nobody should be sitting there playing Bill ball. Okay. When it's the games in the clutch, that you're known for turning the ball over in clutch moments. Trust your teammates. Oh, well, he gave 17 assists last night. Well, yeah, he has no choice but to. But when these guys return, can this be sustainable? And I don't believe it is. He's going to go right back to what he normally plays. So all in all, because we can talk about this until the cows come home. No, I don't believe that he is the guy. I do feel he's going to most likely walk away. We get nothing in return. And I believe that the organization, Tommy Shepard and Ted Leonsis, are thinking that Wizards fans are just going to sit there and say, well, you know what, you guys tried. Hey, pat on the back. No, we're going to hold you accountable because you could have literally controlled this situation. You gave him way more power than he should have been given. And that's the reason why he's moving around the way he is. I mean, I don't really want to kind of go down this rabbit hole, but even with him getting vaccinated, he's somewhat still saying things. And I'm like, come on, bro. Can somebody put a muzzle on this guy?
Yeah, because he's still not all the way convinced that the vaccine is, effective, and he's worried. He's worried about the wrong things, man. He's looking for a cure for a virus that is just uncurable right now. I mean, there's a lot of viruses out there that's uncurable. Why are we even worried about it? Just take the proper steps. Do what you feel is best for you and your family, like the rest of us, because I did the same thing. You did the same thing. It wasn't really more so about me. It was more about my loved ones and the people around me. I don't want to, be the carrier of a virus and get others sick, stuff like that, man. You have your own reasons for doing things. As soon as you do it, there's no need for further explanation. There's no need for further questioning. Just go out there and live your life. Go out there and be the $37 million man that you are. Because I can tell you, my dude, I don't make $37 million a year, and I don't get, and I could care less about, how we're going to, cure an uncurable virus. Okay. It's just that simple for me.
Exactly.
I would love to know the answers, but it's not in my realm to worry about something like that. And I know damn well it's not in his realm. That's why I'm like, why is that even a question? You acting like, Bill acting like he get ready to go knock on a scientist's door and ask that question. Come on, bro. Come on.
Which we know isn't. Stay off of YouTube, Bill. Whatever conspiracy theories you and your wife were watching, stay off of it.
Anyway, so let's move on, man, because I think, like you said, we can pretty much talk about this all day. On a lighter note, for Bradley Beal's been playing out of this world. The last 3 games, actually the last 10 games, he's been averaging 26.2 points per game. The last 6 games, 28 points per game. In the last 3 games, 31 points per game on 11 assists and 4 rebounds. He's actually a plus 19, I do believe. Yep, plus 19. Here's Bill's stats. Shooting 50% from the field, He's still shooting 28% from three.
Right.
So that's still a struggle for him. But to
34
Bill's
assists.
to Bill's credit, and I call him Utah Bill. He's been playing the point. He's been deferring a lot more. To his credit, he's been playing outstanding basketball. Uh, if you look at since the Utah game, if you look at the numbers, the way they are going, the team right now is kind of playing a style that it's reminiscent of how we played last season.
It
We're,
is.
we're more up tempo. We don't really run no half court sets. There's not really one man or it's not really more than one man that stands out in this offense. It's kind of like, hey, if you're open, shoot the ball type offense.
Right. It's like everybody got the green light.
Everybody got the green light offense. But here's the thing: we're still ranked in the bottom half of the league defensively, and we're still ranked bottom half of the league offensively. So I don't really know if we can brag about this new identity, so to speak, with Bradley Beal leading the team at point guard because there's not really much to show for it other than the fact that Bradley Beal has improved in his game.
Yeah, I mean,
What's your take?
we're playing Bill ball, pretty much. That's what we're doing. I mean, look at the timing. We're getting close to the All-Star game. So right now he's trying to make his case to being in the All-Star game. Um, so what he's trying to do is get his averages up. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it, you got
So you feel like it's more of an agenda led.
it's definitely an agenda led. I mean, think about it. Zach Levine, DeRozan, these guys are most likely going to get picked over him in this All Star game for the East. Maybe Lonzo Ball might make it. You never know. I mean, there's other, LaMelo most likely is going to make it. You know, so he's trying to make a case to get in there. And this is the opportunity time to do that when you got Spencer Dinwiddie out on COVID protocol. You got Montrezl Harrell is out on COVID protocol. This is your opportunity. So it's definitely agenda led for him. For him, it makes him look good. For the Bill supporters, they say, "Well, hey, look at what he's doing. Look at his numbers. He put up 17 assists last night. You can't trash him. No, we really can't trash him. But we've seen this before. We saw this last season. We saw this the season before last. What does it do? How does it benefit the team? We're 18 and 18 right now. In the words of the great Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are.
So last night's game, which was pretty heartbreaking to say the least, the Wizards played very well in my opinion. I mean, they kept pace with the Bulls team that had just come off of beating the Indiana Pacers at the buzzer. DeMar DeRozan doing this thing, shining like the star that he is this season. Um,
Man,
and last night we shot 52% from the field. We didn't get out rebounded. We kept the turnovers down. But here's this number again, man. 6 for 27 from 3-point range, shot only 22%.
yeah,
We can't get that monkey off of our back. We did shoot well from the free throw line. We had 26 assists as a team, and Bill actually had a career high in assists at 17 assists. Also wanted to point out that Kyle Kuzma led all scorers with 29 points, and he had 12 rebounds. And then you had a great all-around play from Denny last night with 10 and 6. And Denny was playing, in my opinion, as great defense you can play on a superstar player or star player in DeMar DeRozan.
yeah.
To me, I mean, watching that game last night, I felt really bad for Denny, man. He fouled out, but I mean, man, DeMar DeRozan gets all the.
That's That's what he does. I mean, not to cut you off, that's what DeMar DeRozan does. I mean, he's been doing that even when he was a Raptor. He's a guy that's going to pump fake, get you in foul trouble. For a little bit, the Wizards, then he was able to sustain him. But as time went on, you just knew that DeMar DeRozan was going to be DeMar DeRozan. Another thing that stood out, Kobe White, of course, Zach Levine. I mean, Zach Levine finished out with 35.
Yeah.
Vujovic. I mean, the whole Chicago Bulls starting lineup were all in double figures. You almost forgot that Caruso and Lonzo Ball didn't even play last night.
Well, listen to this.
But
Listen to this though. Keep this in mind. I don't mean to cut you off. 4 guys scored 20 points or more.
I know. That's what I'm
Four.
saying.
That was crazy.
So when you have 4 guys scoring 20 points or more, it's very hard to win the ball game. And the thing about it against the Wizards, and this you have to give credit to Chicago. We tried everything that we could, but Chicago was just hanging in there. And great defense by Bradley Beal on DeMar DeRozan, but just a better shot, man. I mean, Bill had his hand in his face, but DeMar DeRozan just hit a tough shot.
Well, Corey Kispert was on him first, and then Bill came over to
He
help.
fell for the pump fake, and then
Right.
Bill managed to get there, put the hand in the face. But that's just a tough shot. It reminded me of I think it was 2016, 2017 season. We playing against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and LeBron James hits that damn turnaround 3-point shot to hit off the glass, and then that's when you see that famous picture of Bradley Beal's then fiance Kamaya Adams with her mouth wide open, like in a maze. So you can't really do nothing when a guy hits a shot like that. And DeMar DeRozan did it the night before against the Pacers, hit a game-winning bucket.
Yeah.
So, we played a game very perfect. A lot of people talked about it in one particular situation. I missed this part where Wes Unseld Jr. had Anthony Gill in the game instead of Gafford. And I think it was a missed free throw, and Vujovic got the rebound because he had a height advantage.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people felt that was kind of like the decision. That's kind of how when the momentum changed just based off of that rebound.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
What, when who got the rebound? Vucevic?
Yeah, when Vucevic got it, but it was Anthony Gill that was on him because of the height advantage. A lot of people felt that Wes Unseld Jr. should have had Daniel Gafford in the game.
Oh, yeah. During the fourth quarter. He didn't play him in the fourth quarter.
Right.
That's the thing. I looked at it like Wes Unseld Jr., he shouldn't get criticized for every single, rotation, because people got to understand, and on this team, where the spark happens, that's what you stay with. Gill played great defense all night long. So it was almost like it was warranted because Gill doesn't get those opportunities. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, when a guy plays well, you go with that guy. Gafford played well too, don't get me wrong, but, it's all about matchups. And I think that Gill played well enough to still be in the game at the end of the game. But the thing is hindsight's always 20/20, because if Gafford was in the game and Vucevic scores on Gafford, people are going to say, well, Anthony Gill should have been in the game because he's been playing great. You see what I'm saying? So it's always that, what they should have done. But the bottom line is when 2 guys are playing great, it's hard for any coach to determine what's the best case scenario for an end of a game. If Gill's playing well and he started playing well and he's finished let him finish the game. He's been playing well all game. Why not?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
So, at the end of the day, the Bulls absolutely proved why they're the best team in the East to me. I think, we may not be there. Like, people are saying, yeah, if we get that play in or if we finish 8th, we'll see the Bulls or we'll see, Brooklyn. They like their chances against the Bulls. Look, I don't care, man. The Bulls Caruso didn't play. Lonzo Ball didn't play. I think they were missing a big man as well last night.
Yeah, I believe they were.
That team is stacked.
Stacked, man.
That team is stacked. So,
I mean, say, man, I don't mean to. I'm gonna say
we do match up well. We do match up well against the Bulls. Don't get me wrong. We do match up. But listen, look at these stats, man. 28, 5 and 9 on 10 for 22 shooting from DeRozan. 35, 3 and 5 on 11 for 22 shooting from Zach LaVine. Like, that's like having 2 Kobe's on the team or 2 Jordans on the team, man. It really is.
And
insane.
I mean, that's crazy, my dude. Both of these two dudes took 22 shot attempts. That's crazy. They
Because
took 22 shot attempts.
man, that team is almost perfect. When you talk about the dynamics of that team, they do it from the inside out. They can hit those mid-range jump shots. I mean, man, they are a problem.
Zach Levine was 7 for 12 from 3-point range, man.
Yes,
7 for 12. Kobe White took 14 attempts. He was 7 out of 14, but he scored 20. Vujovic was 9 for 15 from the field, scored
they shot
22
well.
points.
They shot
They
well.
shot, they shot well, and Vucevic went 3 for 7. Not good, but 3 for 7 from downtown. I mean, come on, man. I mean, I'm gonna say this. I don't think we would be able to handle Chicago
It's just too many
in a
weapons.
7 game series. It's
Too
just
many
too
weapons.
much firepower.
It's too much firepower. I mean,
Too much.
it's so evident. It's so evident what we're missing. What we're missing is, and don't get me wrong, Daniel Gafford played well last night. He finished the game 9 for 10. That was his best shooting, 90% from the field. That's unheard of. I mean, that's good for him. Kuzma shot for 12 for 18. Great shooting game for him. Um, and Kispert was 4 for 8, and Denny was 4 for 9. So certain guys shot well as well. But to think that we would be able to sustain that in a 7 game series against the Bulls, I don't see it. I don't see it.
No, I mean
And,
you
and even
don't. I
if you're talking
mean,
about the guys that we're missing, Rui, TB, Thomas Bryant, and Spencer Dinwiddie, and you got Neto and these guys. I just don't see how we can keep up with their firepower, man. I really don't.
no, I mean we won't be able to. I mean, these are guys that are, for one, DeMar DeRozan is a former franchise player that was playing for Toronto. Vujovic, former franchise player that played in Orlando. Zach Levine, former franchise player that played up there in Minnesota, and he's a franchise player playing for the Chicago Bulls. You bring Lonzo Ball back. I mean, this team is stacked, man. I mean, they're a real stacked team, and there are a matchup problem. Like we can't go into a shootout with them. Don't get me wrong. We played as tough as we could last night without the guys that we have. But when you're talking about firepower, and when you're talking about two guys that only needs 22 shots to put up the type of points that they put up, come on, man. That's just too much. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So
Yeah,
we got the
Charlotte
Hornets
Hornets,
tomorrow night
Charlotte Hornets tomorrow.
at
Um,
home. How
and
do you feel about that game?
well, the Charlotte Hornets are a poor defensive team, but they put the ball in the basket. You and I talked about this last episode, how they traded their defense for offense. So it's going to be a high scoring game, for the simple fact that maybe both teams are going to pretty much say, okay, well, we don't want to play any defense this game. Let's just see if we can outshoot this team. The
Right.
Hornets love an up-tempo style game. That fits into exactly how we've been playing over the last couple of games with Bradley Beal at the point guard position. I don't know who's going to be healthy for that game tomorrow or what. But bottom line is, I think that we can win that game, because Charlotte's defense is just piss poor. They're the worst defensive team in the league.
True. Here's the only concern that I have. They 6 of their players average 10 points or more.
Unless we have a bad shooting game or unless we turn the ball over, I don't see how. The point is that they just a bad defensive team. If we don't take advantage of that, then we're gonna lose the game.
But you got to remember, my dude, we're 0-2 against them so far this season. So we can't really sit there
because
say,
they're yeah,
go
because
ahead.
they're a matchup problem. But the thing is we could control those games. We just didn't. That's the thing. And so against the Charlotte Hornets, that's the problem. They're a matchup problem. And do I see us losing the game? Of course. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I don't see us losing the game, but I can also see us winning the game. I look at that as like a 50-50 toss up.
Yeah, it is.
I
It's
don't
a
see a season. I just won't bet on the season sweep. We should learn our lesson by 2 losses by now.
yeah. Well, you're right. You're
Uh,
right.
Knowing the Wizards, we get swept by the Hornets when the Hornets are the worst defensive team in the league.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, you're
usually
right, right. I
that's
mean,
usually what
you
it
got to
is.
think about it, bro. We've lost to some teams that we shouldn't have. We beat the Pelicans the first time, and we turned around and laid an egg against them the second time around. So you just don't know what you're gonna get on paper. It looks like it is a winnable game, but it all depends on which team shows up. Which it's definitely going to be a shootout. Are we going to, because the Hornets going to play a fast pace. That's kind of how the way we want to run up and down the court. When we start playing that type of style, we start turning the ball over, start making careless turnovers left and right. That's the dynamic of Spencer Dinwiddie because he controls the tempo. People want to complain about the pace, but he values the possessions. So it's like, hold up, let's slow it down a little bit. Let's play a half court set. Let's actually run a play. But when you're actually going out there and you're running up and down the court, I'm open. We're playing like YMCA basketball. Guys might as well be clapping their hands, asking for the ball so they can take a jump shot because we're trying to score and get down on defense before the opposing team gets down on defense. But if the Hornets ain't gonna go out there and play no D, you're basically just gonna be trading baskets all night long. And then it's going to matter to at some point one of those teams is going to go cold, and if the team goes cold and one team stays hot,
That's what
then
happened.
the game, that's normally what happens, and that's
That's what
probably
happened.
what you're going to be expecting tomorrow. Which one of these teams is going to be hot and then it's going to go cold at the wrong time, and a lot of times that usually be us.
Well, also you got to keep in mind, Bill wasn't playing how he's playing now that he played in the previous two meetings against Charlotte. I am expecting us to play the same way. If we're not playing that way, then yeah, it's a loss. And also Terry Rozier got hot last game against us at home, and Charlotte banks on guys getting hot and falling into this hot streak. LaMelo's had some games this season like that as well. I don't know. I mean, again, if we haven't learned our lesson from the previous games, then maybe we deserve to lose this game. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Terry Rozier is averaging 17.3 points. And I think is he starting or is he coming off the bench still?
Yeah, he's coming off the bench from what I
He's
understand.
coming off the bench. Kelly Oubre is averaging 16.4. So yeah, I mean, you just don't know, man. You really, really don't know. I mean, and LaMelo Ball, I mean, I don't know. It all depends on defense. Who's gonna guard who? Most likely I think we're gonna probably see Denny is either gonna guard LaMelo at some points or he'll be guarding Gordon Hayward. It's gonna be one of those two guys that you'll see Denny on. I don't think Bill is gonna want to be guarding those guys because Bill didn't really guard Zach LaVine as much yesterday, and that's a problem. I mean, Zach LaVine had his points, but I don't know. It's definitely going to be one of those situations where it's going to be a fast-paced game, high scoring, no defense being played whatsoever. We're not playing any defense, and it's going to be the matter of which team is going to go cold, and whichever team goes cold at that wrong time is probably going to be the one that's going to lose the ball game.
Agreed. Agreed.
And another thing too for the Wizards that we should be concerned about, because I was kind of concerned about this last night against the Chicago Bulls. If if the game is too close, then you kind of know what type of game to expect, how it's going to end. And if the Hornets are pretty much in the game throughout the whole time, like if we're winning the game by like as many as 5 points, you have to be very concerned about that, especially if it's going into that fourth quarter. Because look what happened last night. We had that game under control, and then eventually, it slipped through the cracks, and then we end up on the losing end.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. We'll have to really be focused on these types of games, man. We lose focus. That's the thing. We lose focus. When we lose focus in these games, it's evident that we do, and it's evident that uh teams like the Hornets or the Pelicans or whoever we play, who's not that great, they expose us. And we're 18-18 basketball team, and we don't play any better than a 500 basketball team, in my opinion. So
Right.
it's obvious what this team's problem is, and you and I discussed this already. It's identity. We don't really know who we are. The stats show it. The numbers show it. When you're at the bottom half defensively and the bottom half offensively, it shows we don't know who we really want to be. Do we want to be a defensive team? Do we want to be an offensive team? or we just trying to, wing it and just see throughout the season if we'll eventually find that identity. At least what I can give credit to the Hornets about is they've already told you, we don't care about defense. We care about offense.
Yeah.
Even if it means that we're the worst defensive team in the league, we're sacrificing that. We're sacrificing that to score baskets because we have scores on this team. With the Wizards, I don't think we're really sold on whether or not we're a scoring bunch of guys or if we're sold on the fact that we're just a better defending bunch of guys. And I think that's the problem. That's the issue.
Okay. That's going to lead me to one thing, and then I guess we can wrap it up. So this is non-Wizards related. I don't know if you saw or heard about what's going on out there in Houston. We talked about it a little bit offline. So Kevin Porter Jr., Christian Wood apparently got into it with John Lucas in the locker room, and I believe this was during halftime. And then Christian Wood didn't want to come back into the game. I think Kevin Porter Jr., I think he was kind of like, I forgot what he did. But you see that going on in Houston. And there clearly must be going through some type of identity issue. Okay. Christian Wood refusing to go back into the game. Kevin Porter Jr. having a problem with John Lucas. Do you think when you bring it home that possibly is the issue with this team when we talk about the identity? At first, the identity was supposed to be we were a defensive-minded team. Then all of a sudden, something changed where we had to focus on scoring points. Now we're pretty much saying, well, we're not going to worry about defense. Now we're going to try to get our scoring average. Now, what we haven't heard was players having an issue in the locker room. But do you think that maybe something like that did happen and it just wasn't reported?
Good possibility. That's the thing. I mean, when we speculate on stuff like this, obviously it's just what we believe or what our opinions are on it, but we don't have any definitive proof of it. But I always say that 10-3, something happened. We just don't know what it is. Somebody in the organization knows, they just didn't report it or they just didn't say. But in my opinion, something happened to the point where guys really started to disengage. We got little tidbits here and there from players being disgruntled, being unhappy about the system. A lot of this stuff just didn't happen overnight. A lot of this stuff was a buildup. That's what people don't understand. This stuff is buildup. And when it's built up like that, players start to show out. Players start to drop off. They don't want to contribute anymore. They say, you know what, scrap it or forget this. I don't want to do it. What happened in Houston, that's exactly what it was. It was a buildup. There was stuff that was going on between those players and the coaches all the way up until this point, until guys started to explode. Even when it came down, I don't know if you saw the AB situation today, where he took his shirt off and they was in the third quarter, I do believe. And my man just said, all right, I'm out of here. He threw his shirt into the crowd. He's waving by. He's throwing up the peace sign. There was a build up to that, and people aren't factoring this stuff in. They think, oh, well, he had a meltdown. Truth is that the man, if he would have played and if he would have got thrown at, he was going to make $333,000 as a bonus if he had if he had a couple more catches, and he wasn't getting that. He wasn't getting thrown at. As a matter of fact, they benched him. So in my opinion, they were freezing him out.
Right.
So while it looked like he had a meltdown, sure. Truth is that this man had the opportunity to make a bonus check and he's not going to do it on the sideline. So there's a good possibility that was the reason why he decided to say, okay, well, if you guys aren't going to give me the opportunity to make my bonus money, I'm going to go ahead and put my pads down. I'm going to walk out the stadium and I'll catch an Uber, because that's exactly what he did. And the point is that there was a buildup to that. Yeah. And I'm almost certain that somewhere in the organization, they hinted to it. Hey, if AB gets a couple more catches, you're going to have to pay him $333,000. $333,000, right? So they was like, well, no problem with that, man. We'll just bench AB. AB, he ain't dumb. He ain't dumb. Now he's crazy, I do believe. He got a couple screws loose, but what man doesn't when we talk about money?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
So
So
anyway,
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I believe it's definitely a build up. I mean, you're seeing it. So it was definitely a build up in Houston. You're kind of seeing a little bit of the build up out there with the Lakers. And we started seeing a little bit of the build up here in Washington as well. They tried to they tried to kind of like keep it under wraps a little bit. But when you're seeing cryptic tweets, from certain players on Twitter, you knowing something is going on. It's
yes,
just that it wasn't being reported of what that is,
right.
which leads us to when we ask those questions of, okay, well, what's going on with Rui Hachimura? Now people are starting to think, okay, it might be a little bit more going on than just this mental health. What's really going on with Rui Hachimura? And some people are speculating that they think he wants out. Maybe he does. We don't know. Nobody's saying anything about it. It's a possibility he does. So let's say if he gets traded, we will find out the truth of what was really going on, of why it took him so long to play. Because we still have yet to see him. We're in January. We've been told that he's this close. He's doing, I think the last thing they said he was doing maybe 2-on-2 or 3-on-3. He hasn't even gone to 5-on-5 contact yet. We're looking at him. He looks healthy. He's sparing his shots. Of course, we know he got to put that into the actual game, but we still don't know when we're going to see the debut of Rui Hachimura. Is he going to come back the same time Thomas Bryant comes back? We don't know. But there's definitely something going on there, and I think it's a buildup that's happening. And when there's smoke, there is fire. And right now, the Wizards are trying their hardest to try to keep us from seeing the smoke, but we see it. I smell smoke. It's just a fire happened out there in Houston, but it's getting ready to happen here in Washington. No matter how hard they try, there's something building going on with this Rui Hachimura situation. With why all of a sudden we went away from being a defensive-minded team to all of a sudden now we want to be an offensive-minded team. We want to kind of go through this Billball rigmarole. Something happened during that 10-3 stretch. And what I believe is Bill just said, you know what? He said it in his podcast. This is not sustainable.
Right.
So maybe he went to management like, look, my numbers are dipping because I'm focusing on playing defense. You guys are trying to figure out a way to make Spencer Dinwiddie and me put up the same amount of shots. That's not going to work. How's that going to work when I'm trying to justify why I get this money? This can't work anymore. Something's got to change. Get the coach to change it.
Well, I mean, I guess my thing is, and I'll we'll end it on this one. I just feel like this. If Rui spoke publicly, I think it would automatically cease what people are thinking, because
Right.
of course people are speculating because we haven't heard from the guy. I mean, he's just as much of an important piece to this organization, in my opinion, as Bradley Beal is. And yet we only hear from one guy, but we don't hear from the other. We see the other guy now because before we wasn't even seeing him. Now we want to hear from him. We want to know, how's he doing? Where's he at with the organization? Where is he at with his return? I mean, the Wizards organization just completely covered everything up that had to do with Rui, or Rui from Rui's perspective, or if Rui wanted to talk, or Rui wanted to say anything, or if he just didn't. The Wizards organization did a great job blanketing, that issue, whatever the issue was with Rui. They did a great job, and I commend them for that. Okay, maybe you wanted to protect him as a player. Maybe you wanted to say, okay, well, you don't have to worry about playing to the media or anything like that. Don't worry about it. We'll speak for you on your behalf, whatever. But the bottom line is if you want people to stop speculating, you want people to stop talking, then put the man in front of the cameras, put the man out there in front of the world, in front of his fans, so we have an answer to where he's coming from. Because you and I both know that as long as, the organization keeps putting out these little tidbits here and there, it's not telling the whole story. And people are smart enough to know that it's not telling the whole story. So stop playing us for fools, man, because we're not fools. Like if you guys just showing a video of him shooting, okay, cool. But we know that it's more to it than just him shooting. We know that the man had to, drive to the gym, put his clothes on, get his shoes together. We know there's more to it. There's always more to it. And see what it is that it doesn't matter. It's not just the Wizards, it's all NBA teams. When what happened in Houston, there was way more to it before it got to that point. And this is to your point that where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't even think people saw the smoke out in Houston. But see, the difference here is that we see some smoke. We just don't see the fire yet. Right. And that's the difference. So with that said, I don't know if you want to touch on one more thing before we go.
I think we touched on everything.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, this was a great episode, my dude. And again, we do, in my opinion, a phenomenal job bringing all of what we can of State of the Wizards to our subscribers and to our fan base. And, we just got to keep it up, man. And from me to you, brother to brother, man, again, thank you for another successful episode. We'll do it again on episode 18. And for the fans out there and the subscribers, thank you for tuning in to another episode. We'll check you guys on the next episode. And you guys have a happy new year and a good night. Let's go, Wiz.